Today I'm going to show you how to turn this into this awesome vanity chair. You see, I need a new chair for my vanity. We're going to turn this stool, which it was once a tall stool and we cut it off. I'm sorry I didn't show you that, but I didn't want you to get sawdust in your eyes. So we went ahead and cut off this stool into the height, which is a good height. And the next thing we did is cut some foam to go onto the seat. Ethe brute. And here is the foam we cut it out of. Heigh! For our supplies, we are going to need one cut off stool, this fabric for the top, and this fabric for the skirt, and this piece of foam for our bootay to sit on, if you know what I mean. I hope you know what I mean, because sitting is kind of a thing that a lot of people do. The next thing we're going to do is make a piece to go over the foam. Trace the pattern of the foam onto our piece that we're going to use for the top.
I was in a conundrum, a bad place in life. I could not find anything to trace for the top of my stool until I went and had some pizza, and guess what I found? A pizza pan. I do recommend washing it before you put it on the fabric, but it's up to you, to each his own. I did leave about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which come to find out I actually didn't need. Next, I want to tell you a story about my house being haunted, but I can't because I have to continue with this tutorial. As you can see, I did go ahead and measure the width. I measured part of the foam, and then I measured the other part of the foam. And as you can see, then I am putting the measurements onto the fabric, and I'm drawing. That's what I'm doing right there. But anyway, back to my house. I was in my studio recording, and you would not believe what happened. Okay, so what you need to do is use the yardstick to mark your spots, and then mine wasn't big enough, so I ended up having to cut 2. I'm sorry that I spoiled it. You will see that in a minute. But back to my story. You see, when I was in my studio room, I had just finished recording. Now, I know I'm going a little fast, so all you need to do is rewind the video to about 1/2 speed, and you'll understand what I'm doing. So when I was in my studio, both of the lights turned off at the same time, and I thought for sure that it was the breaker box, but
we now have all of the pieces cut out for the top of our seat. And the next thing that we're going to do is pin this to this. So that will be a lot of fun because we're pinning something circle to something that's straight is the word. So we want to pin it pretty side to pretty side. And then all you need to do is take a pin, pin it on. Kitty! Look at my kitty. Hi, Una. I'm sorry. She's really loving me today.
so just for the fun of it, I thought I'd go ahead and check to see if the lights were actually turned off.
And now I just realized that I actually need to sew the other piece to this piece before I continue to pin it all the way around. So I'm going to do that really fast. The next thing we're going to do is sew everything together. Now that we have this all pinned together, let's go ahead and sew it.
Now you probably guessed that the next step is to put the cushion into its little holder there that we just made. So here is a quick montage of me doing that.
Alright, now we've got our cushion on our chair. We're going to go ahead and glue the cushion to the chair, just to temporarily hold it.
In case you wanted to see what it looks like to put glue on a stool, that is what it looks like.
Okay, now we're going to measure for the skirt. So we want the skirt to come up a little bit onto the fabric up here.
So I could not understand a darn thing I was saying in this clip. Basically what I'm doing is measuring how long the skirt needs to be for the chair.
A little above the stool, and go all the way down to the bottom. And if there's extra, I'd rather have extra than less. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it at 17 inches wide. For the length, what we're going to do is take and measure this right here. I got to write down 17 inches. We are going to measure the circumference of this circle here, and then we are going to add 1/2 to that so we can have a little bit of gathers. So let's do that.
There's no way these lights could have been switched off because they have to be switched off by a switch that is on the actual light, and the switch was turned off.
Okay, so this goes around about 42. So half of 42 is 21. So I'm going to add 42 plus 21 and make my measurements. So in total, it's going to be 63 inches. Okay, now I'm going to start measuring the 17 inches tall part, and then we'll go for the 63 inches long part.
So there's no way that these lights could have been flipped off in my studio at the same time. Like someone couldn't have snuck in and flipped them off because they each have their own flipper switch. So then I turned around and the next thing I know my camera is actually facing down. And mind you, I had just been filming, so the camera was facing up and I had it very secure.
The fabric is marked, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Okay, and my piece is cut out. I love it. I'd wear this as a scarf. I really would. It's pretty nice. Nice fabric, too. Alright, what we need to do now is go ahead and iron this because there are some fold lines and whatnot on it. So, I'm going to iron it. The next step after you cut out your fabric is to take and switch your machine to the longest stitch possible, and we're going to go ahead and sew all along the raw edge with that stitch, and then we'll pull one of those ends to make it gather.
So I am really unsure as to what happened. The only thing I can think of is that my over 100-year-old house is,
And when you're done, do not backstitch.
from 1890. I'm thinking that we might have a ghost. And if you'd like, I will tell you another story about the house. So I was marinating some steak in the fridge, and we'd had it marinating overnight.
Alright, so now we're going to take this down to the floor again and pull our string to make sure we know how big we want our piece to be, and then we're going to come back and we're going to sew the ends together. I mean, not like you and I are going to do it together unless you're following my tutorial, then we're going to do it together, but I mean the ends of the cloths together. We're going to go ahead and find the one drawstring that we need to pull. I will show you what it looks like. You have 2 strings here, 2 strings, and you only pull one. So you pull it very, very carefully. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this very carefully.
So I came down about 12 o'clock midnight, and I wanted to sleep on the couch. And obviously the meat wasn't anywhere but in the fridge. And then when I woke up,
I have my skirt made. I went ahead and pulled the strings. I measured around the seat here, and then I pulled the strings until they matched up, and I went ahead and sewed down the crease. Let me show you. So I went ahead and sewed down the crease right here. And I think I'll take and give that a little ironing really quick. Alright, so I went ahead and ironed that seam. My fabric is actually, I think polyester or something, so I went ahead and burned the edges around where I did the gathering just so it wouldn't fray anymore. Sometimes I forget that I'm English and I forget words, so bear with me. Now we're going to put the skirt around the stool. And we are going to use handy dandy hot glue for that. So what we need to do is make sure that our skirt is going to be touching the ground. When you put the skirt around the stool, you need to make sure that the skirt is touching the ground or very close. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this one right here because it is almost touching the ground, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it on. And I'm just going to go section by section. I got another kitty in my room. This time his name is Kiko.
I saw the meat was actually in the container, untouched, sitting on the living room floor.
Okay, and here we are. We have put the skirt around the stool. But we are not done yet, of course, because we have raw edges. So let me show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so the very next, don't mind me. The very next step is adding the fringe around the side. So we're going to be adding fringe that'll cover up the raw edges of our other fabric. So let's go ahead and do that. So I have this little doodad here, and you can measure and then mark where you want it to end. So I've marked it at 1.5 inches because that's how far down I want it to go. And again, we are going to be using hot glue because hot glue is the way to go. And besides that, hot glue sticks to fabric and makes it bond like crazy. So hot glue is a good choice for this. Okay, so we're going to get started with our first piece that we're going to glue on. I have it pinned already. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish this off camera, and then we will do the final reveal. So let me model it for you. You can sit like this. How do I look? I sit like this. I like this. How do do I look right here? And how does this look? Well, that is the end of our show today. I would like to thank you for watching so much, and I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful, fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out. A couple weeks afterward, a couple weeks afterward, never mind.